And welcome in, everybody, to the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasivada Party Charlie O with you. We're sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Cupertino and the Britannia Arms of Capitola as well. Now they've added on Britannia Arms of Cupertino, 40 years, longest running British pub in Silicon Valley. You can get them at BritanniaArmsDianza.com, 408-252-7262. And the Britannia Arms of Capitola, 10 years old now on the shores of the Pacific Ocean, located on the end of Capitola Village, Facebook.com/Britannia Arms Capitola, 831-464-2583. Thanks to Andy and Sydney for coming on board as well. All right, we welcome you into the studio now. Vasivada Party, Charlie O here for the Make the Money and Run podcast. We're here 3 times a week. This is the Friday baseball show, 12:30 Eastern on the East Coast, 9:30 on the West Coast. We're here Mondays and Thursdays as well. If you missed the live broadcast, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Don't forget our social media postings come out every day, Monday through Friday by 6 Eastern on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And then you can always catch us on Saturdays, 3 times a day on Saturday for NCAA Saturday, twice on Sundays for the NFL. We haven't forgotten about the NBA and NHL today, but this is the Friday baseball show as we get into Game 3 of the World Series. The series tied at 1 game apiece. We did talk a lot about it yesterday, but as far as going over Game 2. But here's the updated line on the game. 114, 8.5 for Atlanta. The rookie Ian Anderson versus the rookie Luis Garcia. They both are starting. I don't remember the last time 2 rookies started, but I was talking to a former Major League pitcher. They're not really rookies anymore by the time August and September comes around, because I asked him, I said, the nerves in the World Series should be something still, because you're still a rookie and you're still experiencing it for the first time. And he said they've been everywhere. They pitched in the division series. They've been in the league championship series. So they're there for you. Garcia, 1-1 in the postseason, 9.64 ERA in 9 1/3 innings. Has given up 12 strikeouts for Ian Anderson. He is 1-0 in the postseason and 12 innings pitched. He's given up 3 earned runs. 12 strikeouts in those 12 innings, a 1.08 whip. And during the season, let's see if I got this right here. During the season, he was something. He was pretty good during the year. He was 9-5 during the year with a 3.58 ERA, 124 strikeouts, and 128 1/3 innings. Garcia during the year was 11-8, 3.48 ERA, 167 strikeouts, and 155 1/3 innings. So 2 guys that have good stuff that are going tonight, 2 rookies, 8:09 Eastern on Fox Sports tonight. We gave you the total. We'll give it to you one more time. 114 for Atlanta, the total 8.5. It's going to be cool in the Southeast tonight, Charlie. So that 8.5 might be something to play with, especially with 2 pitchers with good stuff. How are you? What's going on? And what's your take?
You know what? First of all, I'm great. Up, a couple of cups of coffee in me. Woke up on the right side of the grass. You know, what more do you want? And I'm choking to death. But other than that, everything is good. And my take is, this is a game. I never in a 7-game series, I never go must win unless it's an elimination game. But I think that this is an important game to Atlanta, because I think they would like to get back on top. I think this would make them feel better in this 7-game series if they could win this first game at home. I think that if you look at that number, a -114 number doesn't say that the prognosticators are going, wow, Atlanta at home, they are really strong. No, they don't think they're really strong at a -114 number. I think the cold weather, I think your projection is right there. The ball is not going to fly easily. Although I think it's supposed to be 80% humidity tonight, which, by the way, we could have rain delays tonight in this game, which could affect the pitching. Long rain delays will always affect your starting pitching situation. I didn't get the hourly forecast before we came on, but the forecast was that we could have rain at game time. And I think the game time temperature was right at 50. So it's going to be cold, which could be tough on the pitchers. Rain could cause rain delays, which could affect the starting pitching. But you kind of got an offset there. You've got cold, which could affect the flight of the ball, but you've got high humidity, which could help the flight of the ball. So will it be a home run night? Probably not. I mean, you're going to have to really tattoo that ball in order to get it out of there, even though that's a home run stadium. So the under 8.5, that's very tempting. I have to tell you, as I look at that I haven't decided. I haven't even decided if I'm going to jump in on this game, but I look at that. I look at that under 8.5, and I go, that looks tempting.
Well, offensively, they're going to. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Offensively, Dusty Baker talked about what he was going to do without a DH in the National League Park. Of course, Dusty Baker very familiar with Atlanta. He started with Atlanta way back when, some 50 plus years ago. I think the year I was born was the year he made his debut with Hank Aaron as a teammate, and he was in the on deck circle in the famous Hank Aaron shot, the 715 shot in Atlanta. He was the batter in the on deck circle. One note that I wanted to get into with the Houston Astros, speaking of Dusty Baker and the Astros, is that we talked about it yesterday. They are going to go for offense, and they're going to sacrifice a little bit of defense with Jose Siri, McCormick, Myers still a little bit hurt. None of them are going to play center field tonight. Kyle Tucker was a Gold Glove candidate in left field last year for the Astros. He's moved over to right field so that they could have room for Michael Brantley and Yordan Alvarez to play left field. Since they have a DH, one or the other could be the DH. Alvarez, I think, DH more than Brantley did this year, but they're going to go with Yordan Alvarez in left field, as we speculated, Michael Brantley in right field, and they're going to move Kyle Tucker into center field with no DH tonight. So that's going to be a big difference from a defensive standpoint, but Kyle Tucker has great speed. He can cover center field. He'll probably have to cover left and right a little bit in the alleyways as well, too, for Brantley and Alvarez. But Brantley's a good outfielder. He's got a great throwing arm. The times that I've seen Alvarez in the outfield, he has a strong throwing arm as well, too. So they're not going to lose anything from throwing the ball. They might lose it in terms of depth and distance and being able to cover the ball. So Kyle Tucker, a big part of tonight's game and probably the entire series, playing center field for the Houston Astros. But the offenses, if they were up, let me ask you this, Charlie. What do you think? If they were up 2-0, you think they might have sat one of the guys, Alvarez or Brantley, going into this series and gone with Siri or McCormick in center field?
Yes.
You think so?
Really? I think they might have taken that chance because you'd feel a little better about your situation. But I don't think as important as run scoring is, especially because we've seen big run totals in the playoffs. I think that they can't take a chance of bringing one of those bats out. And again, you're in a no DH situation here, so it changes the entire scenario of how you have to play in your lineup. So yeah, I think if they were up 2-0, I think there's a good chance that Dusty might have set one of those guys.
If you missed my conversation with Greg Olson, the former Major League pitcher, 1989 Rookie of the Year, Baltimore Orioles, you can download and subscribe it on A Conversation with Vasu Party. We were talking about how baseball is different from then to now. Usually you would be able to announce pitchers and you would have an announcement of your pitchers going into the series, no matter how long they stayed. But he said his idea was that it didn't matter because in the playoff situation, it's kind of like an opener situation because the stakes are at such a high level that you can't last with your starting pitchers as long as you would normally during the regular season. So from that standpoint, it's similar and it makes sense from that standpoint. I want to thank everybody on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter for joining us live. If you missed any of it, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. This is a Friday baseball show with Vasu Party, Charlie O for the Make the Money and Run podcast. All right, speaking of Charlie Morton we talked about. There are no listed pitchers for tomorrow or for Sunday. We know about Charlie Morton's broken leg, striking out Altuve to end it before he couldn't walk anymore. Michael Brantley, 5 for 9 in the series. Alvarez has hit the ball well. You can see why Dusty Baker would want them in the lineup. There's no doubt in my mind. But then these rotation issues for 4 and 5, the bullpen is going to have to step up right now because we don't know how far Ian Anderson's going to go. And the game was still in doubt a little bit on Wednesday. So they were talking about Max Fried being pulled early so that they would bring him back they had a chance to bring him back on game 5 because he would still have bullets left. I don't think you do that to a young pitcher. And I don't think they do that nowadays anyway. But the fact is that they don't have a starting pitcher for game 4 and game 5. It actually, the Astros have not named a pitcher for game 4 or game 5. You got to think, after the Valdez start the other night on Wednesday where he looked like a deer in the headlights, I'd be questioning what to do in that scenario as well too. But both teams are hot offensively. Michael Brantley, Altuve only 2 for 10, but his 2 hits came on Wednesday. Freddie Freeman, all he does is drop the bat head on it and hit 2 hits, 3 hits every game. Ozzie Albies starting to play well again. And then Duvall hit the 2-run home run the other night. Jock Peterson struggling in the LCS, the last part of the LCS and the World Series. But they've also got Eddie Rosario, who's the National League Championship Series MVP. So they're doing it with the bats. They're doing it on defense. The defense has been outstanding to protect the pitching a little bit. And Will Smith, closing it out, has pitched better than he did in the early part of the postseason as well. And now Ryan Presley, Kendall Graveman on the other side, Charlie, they're trying to figure out what to do there. They pitch great in the postseason. The entire bullpen has for Houston as well too. But where do we lie the advantage in between the pitching staffs between Atlanta and Houston right now?
Wow. That's kind of the $1 million question right now, Vasu. As you know, I'm a producer at an ESPN affiliate. So yesterday my head was just filled with experts coming on talking about this game and particularly the pitching for games 4 and 5. And overwhelmingly, they have said that at least 2 of the games coming up, game 4 for sure, and then they were trying to decide whether it was game 5 or game 6, are going to be bullpen games. They just said that looking at the pitching staffs, they don't see how in the world they cannot be. And everybody was leaning towards game 5 being another bullpen game because they think they're going to want the bullpens to be in pretty good shape for 6 and 7 if necessary, particularly 7 if necessary, so that if they've got to go with a bullpen situation, it would be 5. But 5 could be an interesting call depending on what game 5 looks like, because game 5 could be the final elimination game. So there's so many factors that start to play in there. But the fact that we're still talking about bullpen games is very interesting. I mean, we always know that in the World Series, 1 to 2 things are going to happen. You're either going to pitch a guy till his arm falls off, because if you got a guy that's going well, then you just go ahead and let it go, or you're going to give him a quick hook and go to the bullpen, and the bullpen might consist of some starting pitchers depending on the situation. But now we're talking about true bullpen games where, you might just literally have, you might bring a so-so starter out and then everybody is from a reliever. So it's quite a change. But Vasu, at first when bullpen games started happening, I was kind of going, I don't know if I like this. But now I kind of find it interesting because it's intriguing to see the different guys come in, to see the different pitches come in. And what I love to see is the hitters make the adjustments to these guys. And I think what it is, it's a real tribute to professional hitters to come in and make that quick adjustment, because we always know in today's game, about the 3rd time through the order, professional hitters begin to own most pitchers. And in a bullpen game, you're talking about maybe getting 1 chance to see a pitcher. And these guys are still doing pretty well against these guys. And I just think it's a fascinating boxing match, if you will, 1-round boxing match between these guys when it happens. So it's a fun deal.
I'll give Jason Beck of MLB.com a little credit here, a little notoriety here for our show of who has the better pen plan, the Astros or the Braves. Basically, he said, add to the threat of the inclement weather that could throw a delay into game 3 on Friday night, plus no designated hitter in an NL park, possibly the final times in which baseball pitchers will hit. And the next few games could be a test of both relief corps, even more than a typical postseason stretch. Brian Snitker was even quoted as saying we could end up going 18 innings with 2 bullpen games, talking about game 4 and game 5. We're going to have probably 2 games in a row that we're were going to pitch 18 innings out of that bullpen. So that's Brian Snitker's quote after game 2. Drew Smiley pitched 3 1/3 innings and earned the win in game 4 of the NLCS. Jesse Chavez was effective as well too. And they've got Kyle Wright that they added to the roster. Tucker Davidson was also added to the roster in place of Charlie Morton as well. And the long relief strength for the Astros is Christian Javier. He's thrown 9 scoreless innings over 4 appearances that include 3 in relief of Greinke in the American League Championship Series. So they've got some bullets out there in Houston as well, too. All right, one story I wanted to get to real quick, just a little fun story. John Smoltz, who's doing the broadcast for the Fox Sports Network, has been doing it for the last few years, a terrific job. By the way, for those people that think he's homering for the Braves, of course he's homering for the Braves. He played for the Braves, but that does not take away his professionalism from calling the game. I thought he's called the game right down the middle. There was a story on here that there is a teammate. They do this 6 degrees of separation. So I'm just going to read the list here real quick before we go to break and talk about other baseball. There's other baseball news to talk about. Since 1982, there's somebody that's been in the World Series that has been a teammate of John Smoltz at one time. So I'll read the list real quickly. Ted Simmons, Ozzie Virgil, Darrell Evans, Terry Pendleton, Danny Heap of the 86 Mets, Walt Weiss, Norm Charlton, 1992, himself with the Braves, Terry Mulholland with the Phillies, no World Series in 94, Marquise Grissom with the Indians, Mike Stanton with the Yankees, David Justice with the Yankees, Kenny Lofton with the Giants, Chris Hammond with the Yankees, David Ortiz, who was a teammate of Smoltz with the Red Sox for like half a year, Willie Harris, Albert Pujols, Rocco Baldelli, Mark Teixeira, Jeff Francoeur, Octavio Dotel, Tim Hudson, Kelly Johnson, John Lester. That's the list of 38 guys from 1982 to 2020 of a teammate that has had some 6 degrees of separation with John Smoltz on there. I'm going to credit MLB.com for that story as well, too. But Ted Simmons all the way. Ted Simmons all the way to Josh Reddick and Charlie Morton, the last 2 teammates for John Smoltz at one period of time in Major League Baseball. So,
by the way, let me just jump in on something.
Yeah.
I think Smoltz is, first of all, I love Smoltz. I think he's a great analyst. He tells great stories without dominating the broadcast. And okay, so he's leaning a little Braves. If he wasn't leaning a little Braves, I'd be upset.
I'd be upset too.
I mean, come on, that was his team. But I think he's doing a great job. And back off. Enjoy the guy. The guy was a professional pitcher at the highest level, and he's giving you insights into the game that no one else can do. So sit back, enjoy, and learn. Every time I watch a game with him, I learn something about the game of baseball. Enjoy.
I'm going to agree with you on everything that you said, and I'm going to apply it without going into a lot of detail, but I'm going to apply that same theory to everybody out there when talking about Joe Buck, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Hey,
as well, too.
You know what? Amen.
Britannia Arms of Cupertino, celebrating 40 years in Silicon Valley on the border of San Jose and Cupertino. BritanniaArmsDeanza.com, 408-252-7262. If you want some beach atmosphere, go to Britannia Arms of Capitola. 10 years old now on the shores of the Pacific Ocean, located in the Capitola Village, just west of Santa Cruz. Facebook.com/Britannia Arms Capitola. They're at 831-464-2583. When we come back, we're going to talk about a little Major League Baseball news that is not affected by the World Series. We'll do that on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasi Vada Party, Charlie O here. We'll be back in 30 seconds on the Friday Baseball Show, sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Cupertino and Capitola. Don't forget, we'll have the Friday Football Show after, but we'll see you in 30 seconds with the continuation of the Friday Baseball Show right here on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast, the Friday baseball show. Vasi Vada Party, Charlie O here, sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Cupertino and the Britannia Arms of Capitola. Check them out for NFL Sunday Ticket, college football, NBA season, NHL season's going as well. And, of course, the World Series, Game 3 tonight of the World Series on Fox, 8:09 is first pitch. Luis Garcia, Ian Anderson, two rookies going for the Braves tonight as well. The Astros bats and the Braves bats have been hot. It's going to be a cool weather game tonight. The next 3 nights, 8 o'clock on the East Coast in Atlanta. So enjoy the series.
By the way, 51 degrees, 43% chance of showers.
So expect a little bit of a rain delay. Don't know how that'll affect Garcia and Anderson. Maybe they won't start the game on time. They'll probably will start the game on time for TV purposes, and they'll figure out what to do on the rain delay. But it's Friday night. It's 8 o'clock in Atlanta, so they'll figure out a way to get that. Don't forget, we're on social media every day by 6 o'clock Eastern. Selection Friday is what we're calling it today. We'll have the latest news and also our selections for Friday. The Friday football show will follow us immediately after the baseball show here. We'll preview the NFL weekend. Saturdays, we go 3 times a day, starting at 11 a.m., and then Sunday at noon Eastern. We start with our selection Saturday and Sunday as well. Of course, the World Series will have games 4 and game 5. Don't forget, we're here every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Thanks to everybody on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter Live. If you miss it, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. All right, we pretty much dissected the World Series. We've had 2 days to go. Now, game 3 tonight. We'll review it tomorrow on the Podcast Minute on social media. And then, of course, game 4 and game 5 on Sunday, surrounded by NCAA football and NFL football as well, too. All right, some news in Major League Baseball. We live in the area. We've seen him for all the years. He's a former San Francisco Giant. He played with Greg Olson, actually. Speaking of 6 degrees of separation, he was a Baltimore Oriole later in his career in the late 80s, early 90s. So he was there with Greg Olson, who I had on earlier this morning on a conversation with. But Bob Melvin has been named, and that name did not even pop up on any radar, on any rumor mill at all. A lot of people thought Bruce Bochy was going to be there, or at least have interest in the job. I'm sure he does have interest in the job, Carly, but and Mike Schilt, surprisingly being gone from St. Louis, was another name that was going to be in there. Ron Washington's name got thrown around after his notoriety, shall we say, in the LCS and the World Series as the third base coach for the Atlanta Braves. But Bob Melvin, after 11 years in Oakland, and then previously he was with Seattle and Arizona before that, but Bob Melvin, after 11 years, is going to take his act south to San Diego and get in the National League West, compete with the Dodgers and the Giants and the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, and be the new manager of the San Diego Padres. Charlie, you know him a little bit. You cover the A's. I don't know him. I don't perceive to know him very well. Been around him a couple times. Nice man, Cal graduate, Bay Area, born and raised, and he's leaving the Bay Area to go to San Diego. Not that I blame anybody for going to San Diego, but this is a talented team. They totally underperformed this year. Jace Tingler did not have a plan going into the season, and it totally backfired on them when prognosticators had them as the number 2 team in baseball ahead of the Yankees and behind the Dodgers. And they finished 24 games out in the NL West, and they weren't even a factor in the NL wildcard come September 1st, Charlie. So Bob Melvin, the new manager of the Padres.
Yeah, I would be lying to you to say that when that story broke yesterday, I wasn't shocked. I was in total shock because, I mean, there wasn't anything bubbling under the radar anywhere. And, you know, all of us who cover, and I do cover the A's, I've covered the A's since back in the 80s. You know, we talk all the time, and there was nothing. I mean, until yesterday, there was just nothing. And then all of a sudden, there was all of this rumble that started to happen. And we're all kind of going, nah, that's not happening. And then all of a sudden, bang, it was done. And unlike Vasu, okay, the shoe dropped. Melvin's going to San Diego. Well, now, in a typical A's deal is, okay, Melvin's going to San Diego, but the A's always get something back in every situation. There's always some return. So we're waiting. Okay, Melvin's gone. What are the A's getting back? And the answer is, in this case, not Zuki. Now, I think that is out of respect to Melvin because they love Bob. He's been a great manager for them, and I don't think they wanted to mess the deal up. And I think it's probably one of those things where San Diego was ready to make a move. And if there had been any hiccup in trying to get the deal done, they might have moved on to somebody else. So they didn't want to mess it up for Melvin. So I think they just said, okay, straight deal. If he can negotiate, if you want him, it's up to him. If he takes the job, he takes the job. And yeah, why? There's a number of things, folks. We all love the Bay Area, but everybody in California wants to live in San Diego. I mean, the weather in San Diego is absolutely impossible to describe because it is just so wonderful. And then you've got a team down there that is loaded with talent in a wonderful ballpark that is literally 3 blocks from the beach. I mean, we're not lying. You walk out of the stadium 3 blocks, you're at the beach. It's a tremendous, they got a great fan base on both sides of the border. It's a baseball town that's becoming even a bigger baseball town now that the Chargers are out of there. So it's a wonderful situation for him. And the one thing I can promise you with Bob Melvin there is that team next year will play defense, because if you look at the A's, they've got a Gold Glover at first, they've got a Gold Glover at third, and they've got a Gold Glove candidate behind the plate this year. So they will play defense. So it'll be a different team. For the A's, wow, major hole to fill.
Yeah, speaking of that, by the way, they did have a Gold Glove potential at shortstop before they traded him, and Marcus Semien, who's a free
don't
agent
get me started.
this
Don't
year.
get me started. Now you're gonna make me go get the bottle of Jack Daniels out.
A's replacements. We talked about Mike Schilt being fired from St. Louis. Actually, mutual separation. Ron Washington, third base coach. I mean, what are the A's looking for in the type of manager that they want for the Oakland A's? I mean, I would think Ron Washington would be the logical candidate, but boy, I like Mike Schilt a lot, and I don't know what John Fisher and the A's brass are going to go for in our last minute here, Charlie. Give me an idea of what you think the A's are going to look for in terms of replacements for Bob Melvin.
I don't think it's Wash. I think that whatever happened there between him and the organization, somehow I don't think that's repairable. I don't have any details. I just don't feel that. Schultz may be the guy. I think that's potential. I think he's the kind of guy they're looking, but they're going to look for somebody like Melvin. I mean, that's it. That's the model. Whoever they think's the closest to that, that's what it's going to be.
No doubt about it. All right. One last note in baseball here, off the World Series news. Yesterday, the Players Association announced their awards. Ohtani and Harper get Players of the Year. Marcus Semien gets the Marvin Miller Award. Mark Belanger gets the Kurt Flood Award. Max Scherzer and Robbie Ray get the Pitchers of the Year Award. Jonathan India and Ryan Mountcastle get the Rookies of the Year awards. And then the comeback awards, Buster Posey had a great comeback year with the Giants. Everybody knows about him taking 2020 off. But nobody was a better story than Trey Mancini this year as AL Comeback Player of the Year. No doubt about it. Congratulations to Trey Mancini coming back off of really serious cancer that he had. He nearly won the All-Star Home Run Derby to Pete Alonso. But what a great year he had in 2021 in terms of coming back. And so the awards by the Players Association, I know Nelson Cruz won the Roberto Clemente Award. That's a special award to all baseball players, but certainly somebody from the Dominican Republic, Nelson Cruz, certainly fits that category in terms of his generosity, Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. And to Nelson, congratulations. That's great. And to Trey Mancini, as a cancer survivor, buddy, we're so happy for you.
Britannia Arms of Capitola and Cupertino are our sponsors. Check them out at BritanniaArmsDeanza.com, 408-252-7262 in Silicon Valley, and then 831-464-2538 in Capitola as well, Facebook.com/Britannia Arms Capitola. Thanks to them for sponsoring us as well. All right, that's going to do it for the Friday Baseball Show, the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasi Vada Party, Charlie O here with you. Don't forget, in about 5 minutes, we'll be back about 10 after the hour on the East Coast, 1:10 on the East Coast, 10:10 on the West Coast for the Make the Money and Run podcast, the Friday Football Show. We'll review last night's football game. We will talk about this weekend in the NFL, some good college games as well. One huge game in the Big Ten this weekend. That'll be on the Friday football show immediately following the Friday baseball show. So thanks to everybody. Charlie O, Vasi Vada Party, the Make the Money and Run Friday baseball show, sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Capitola and Cupertino. We'll see you in a few minutes on the Friday football show. Have a great afternoon. Download and subscribe if you missed any of the podcast. Talk to you later.